Hi, fifth graders. It's Mr. A here for another episode of Journal Time. Let's make sure that we got the following supplies out and on our desk. You need your pretty little journal. You need some coloring supplies, a pencil, a glue stick, and a pair of scissors. So please make sure that you've gotten them supplies out and ready to go. Perfect. Now, once you got them, you need to walk your little behinds over to our mailbox system that's got all of our fancy social studies journal papers. You need to go over there where the two bluish sticky notes are and grab yourself some 3 papers, all right? And now the papers, they look like this. You're looking for one that says weather or climate with a little sun, a little cloud. You're looking for one that says polar zone and one that says tropical zones. Please make sure you've got those 3 papers before going any further. Perfect. Now we need to go ahead and open up in our journal and we need to turn to our table of contents. On your table of contents, can you please go ahead and write the following? We've got pages 2 through 7, so we're going to put in 6 pages here, and it's going to be all about weather and climate zones of our globe. So go ahead and write that down there for me. And then after you're done with that, we need to go ahead and start numbering the next few pages. So right at the top corners, can you go ahead and number 2, and then number 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, and just go ahead and put a little number 8 there just so we've got them through. So please make sure you've written your titles and done that. Awesome, you're well on your way. Now we're going to go ahead and turn to our little page here that had the globes. If you'll do me a huge favor, my video last time, we didn't get quite to the ocean, so just real quick, if you'll look at your globe, can you go ahead and write down these oceans for me, please, with your pencil? So you can see right here, we've got the Atlantic Ocean, it's right in the center. We've got the Southern Ocean down here by Antarctica. We've got the Indian Ocean, that's directly south of Asia. We've got the Pacific Ocean, which is the biggest one in the world, and then all the way at the top, we've got the Arctic Ocean. So if you'll take some time to go ahead and write those in there for me. You're doing so great. Next, we're going to go ahead and take this page, and we're going to go ahead and do these 2 pages as well. I just need you to follow right along that dotted line and cut off all the extra white space of these papers, just to look like this. Sweet! All right, now we're going to go ahead and set the polar and the tropical zones to the side for just a second. What we're going to do is we're going to take this weather and climate, and I don't really care which way you glue it in, but we need to obviously glue it in so that it's sideways, right? So that way when we're doing our journal, it doesn't stick out like that. So either this way or that way, it really doesn't matter, but go ahead and take some time. We're going to glue that in. Once you've got that in, you're just going to turn that sweet little page right there, and we are going to go ahead and put in our polar zones next. And then right after that, you're going to put your tropical zones. So again, I don't really care which way you put them. Just make sure they're facing the same way so it's easy to read. And put some glue in there just like that, and then we'll move. All right, now let's take a look at the weather or climate page. If you'll grab your blue and your yellow and just do a little bit of coloring and underline with me as I read through. So we need to understand the difference between what weather is and versus what climate is. So if we look in this little cloud here, weather is the state of the atmosphere at any given time, including things such as temperature, precipitation, seasons, or cloud cover. So if you're watching the news, if you're checking your little app on your phone or your tablet, you're looking at the weather because that's at any given time, and you're looking at the temperature or if it's going to rain or not. So if you'll underline where it says weather and that this is at any given time. Then if we take our yellow and if we take a look over at climate, we will notice that climate is the average weather in a specific place over many, many years. So if we can underline climate and we can put over many years. So for example, if we talk about the climate of Ohio, we might say that in the summer, the climate would be very warm and humid, about 90s, where in the winter, it can get down into the 30s, and that's like the average, right? It might be a little warmer, it might be a little colder, it might snow some days, it might not, but climate is just average weather over specific times. So if you're gonna travel somewhere, you should probably look at the climate of that area, so that way you know what it's going to be like. All right, now let's take our pencil and we're going to look at these few questions down here. It says, complete the following sentences with the words whether, climate, or weather. The blank can change in just a few hours. Well, in Ohio, we know that is all the time, but we are going to go ahead and write down the weather can change in just a few hours, because if we look in our definition, it's at any time. Blank takes hundreds, thousands, even millions of years to change. Well, we are going to go ahead and write down climate there because we know climate is over many, many years. On TV, the host said that the blank was going to be nice today. Well, I sure hope he was talking about in Marysville because it's the weather is going to be nice today. And last but not least, we should check the blank of Columbia to know what clothes to take. Well, we want to look at the climate so that way we know what the weather is going to generally be like. Perfect. All right, now that we're done with weather or climate, we're going to go ahead and turn the page and take a look at our polar zone. It says one is located on the northern hemisphere between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole. The other is located on the southern hemisphere between the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole. So if we take a look at our fancy globe here, we'll notice the Arctic Circle's at the top and the Antarctic Circle's at the bottom. These are just imaginary lines, folks. These aren't things you can actually go visit, right? They are not real. They're just imaginary lines. And it says the sun rays fall very indirectly to the surface, so temperatures are extremely cold. That means the sun is not directly shining on those circles. This is why polar zones have little vegetation, which is another word for plants or crops, animals, and population. We're going to color the northern polar zone orange and the southern polar zone pink to look like awesome possum. And if you notice too, the northern polar zone is all the way up mostly in Canada, a little bit of Russia, up in Asia, and we notice that the southern polar zone is pretty much all of Antarctica, and we're about right here, so we're not too close to that northern polar zone, so that's why sometimes it's cold, but most of the times it's not. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look down here at our tropical zones. It says they are located between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Again, these are imaginary lines on these globes. The sun rays fall directly to the surface, so the temperatures are very high. We're going to color the tropical zone green, and then we're going to locate the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropical Capricorn. So basically, with your pencil, we're going to go ahead and write right here. This top one is known as the Tropic of Cancer, not like the cancer like the disease, it's just a name for that imaginary line. And this one is called the Tropic of Capricorn. And then what we're going to do is we're going to color it green to look like. And we notice too that Ohio is still not in this zone either. So we are not polar, nor are we tropical, but we are much closer to the tropical zone than we are the polar zone, which is why we have more warm weather than we do cooler weather. And we'll notice here that the tip of Florida, as well as Mexico and Hawaii and the Bahamas and the Dominican Republic, Australia, Africa, South America, this whole chunk is right near this imaginary line, which we know of as the equator, yes, and that's where the sun shines directly on this spot, so we know that this area is going to be warm pretty much 90% of the year. All right, that's part one of our climate and weather. You guys are doing great. I appreciate all of your work on Journal Time.